Welcome to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. This is the only podcast that gives you a raw and unfiltered perspective of what it's really like to be a professional cheerleader. Whether you're currently on a pro team, an alumni, or really curious about what it takes to become a pro cheerleader, the Pro Cheerleading Podcast gives you all the inside scoop and hot topics in the pro cheerleading industry and in-depth interviews of current and former cheerleaders. I'm your host, Mhkeeba. Join me every Wednesday as I reveal the truth behind the Poms. Hi, you guys. It's Mhkeeba here on YouTube, on Instagram Live, trying to kick off season 8 of the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. I'm very, very excited, lightweight nervous, but I'm just going to roll with it. I have wine on hand in case I need a little bit of relaxation, but it's been like 4 months, you guys. So we're just going to, buckle up, buttercup, and just roll with it. There's so much stuff to talk about. It is not even funny. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I see everybody joining and I'm just excited to chat with you guys for real. We have so much going on. This episode is called Feedback because I'm sharing a lot of feedback that you guys gave me of what you wanted to hear about and talk about for season 8. And we're also going to be discussing some feedback you guys shared about some of the audition prep classes you've been taking, how they've been working out for you. And I want to share that as well. And then we have a special guest that's going to join us to talk about his experience auditioning for the Washington football team over the weekend. So I'm kind of excited to talk about that because, you guys. Welcome to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. This is the only podcast that gives you a raw and unfiltered perspective of what it's really like to be a professional cheerleader. Whether you're currently on a pro team, an alumni, or really curious about what it takes to become a pro cheerleader, the Pro Cheerleading Podcast gives you all the inside scoop and hot topics in the pro cheerleading industry and in-depth interviews of current and former cheerleaders. I'm your host, Mhkeeba. Join me every Wednesday as I reveal the truth behind the Poms. Hi, you guys. It's Mhkeeba here on YouTube, on Instagram Live, trying to kick off season 8 of the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. I'm very, very excited, lightweight nervous, but I'm just going to roll with it. I have wine on hand in case I need a little bit of relaxation, but it's been like 4 months, you guys. So we're just going to, buckle up, buttercup, and just roll with it. There's so much stuff to talk about. It is not even funny. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I see everybody joining and I'm just excited to chat with you guys for real. We have so much going on. This episode is called Feedback because I'm sharing a lot of feedback that you guys gave me of what you wanted to hear about and talk about for season 8. And we're also going to be discussing some feedback you guys shared about some of the audition prep classes you've been taking, how they've been working out for you. And I want to share that as well. And then we have a special guest that's going to join us to talk about his experience auditioning for the Washington football team over the weekend. So I'm kind of excited to talk about that because you guys heard me rant and rave about that whole transition a few months ago. And so it is what it is. And we want to hear a little bit about how they conducted auditions and really what we can probably expect from that team. So I just want to say, thank goodness that there is something to talk about because, 4 months is a long break. January 13th was the last episode. And I was just like, I'm not coming back unless we got stuff to talk about. I didn't want to start up another season unless we'd made some forward progress, with stuff to go talk about. But now that fans are going to be back at games in the NBA, I just keep seeing the, announcements coming in of, dance teams getting back in the arenas for the NBA, NFL auditions are fully underway. And they're announcing fans going to be back at games for NFL teams too. So that's great news and the development that we needed in our space. It was not going to be fun to just keep talking about the Rona all the time and how it's thrown everything off, but things seem to be getting on track. I don't know if you guys have been getting your vaccine shots. I'm getting my second one this weekend and I'm not excited about potentially getting hella sick, but It's all good for the cause, just so that we can hopefully keep moving to just getting a little bit back to normal. Anyway, now that we have stuff to talk about, long story short, I am here to give you guys your episodes every Wednesday. And, Cheer Chat will just keep getting us up to speed. I know sometimes I've launched the season by like catching everything up for the past few months, but that's just like mission impossible because so much has happened. So we're going to just kind of weave it in there as we go along. Are you guys ready to get into it? I'm ready. I want to kind of share some of the episode topics that you guys were excited to discuss. I think there were a lot of really great ideas, and I'm definitely going to be bringing that to you along with some amazing interviews with some people that I'm already lining up. So I just want to thank you for the poll responses. I think this is going to be our way to communicate. I think there's just a lot of feedback that I want to hear from you guys. And I don't know if you guys have done Clubhouse much, but I know when we were having information sessions about unionization, we used Clubhouse, and I don't know how you guys feel about Clubhouse, but I wasn't like totally feeling the program, but maybe that will be a good place for us to have some of these discussions. We'll see. But the first episode idea that came up was cracked me up because it sounded like something I would say. WTF, why aren't cheerleaders paid a livable wage was one of the topics. And I know that there was in our first season an episode about pay. It was Bitch Better Have My Money. And we discussed just all of the costs and the investment that you make financially to actually pursue this life. And we discussed pay a little bit, but what I think would be a lot more interesting is a conversation that's really fueled by information from you guys. If you guys are willing to fill out a survey anonymously and share how your team structures their compensation. Like one of those Clubhouse sessions, there was a woman from the Cowboys DCC that was just super open about their pay structure. It was almost like a freaking rate card of like, for this type of appearance, with this amount of seniority. Like she just kind of broke everything down, which I thought was actually really, really, everybody was shook from like the things that they're compensated for. And I just think that knowledge is power. And if we're willing to anonymously kind of share what the best practices are in terms of what other teams are doing, then it might be a way to kind of push the envelope a little bit more so that we can move more in the direction of compensating. I don't know if we'll get to livable wage in my lifetime. I'd love to see it, but at least we can kind of show maybe some best practices or ways of doing things. And we could just move beyond minimum wage. Can we agree on that? I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction. So I'm going to be launching that. Hopefully you guys will feel comfortable. It is a vault. I think it will be helpful to know the team name. Obviously, I would love to capture information for NBA and NFL. So let's just see what information we get. A woman had reached out after one of the panels that I spoke on and basically wanted to lend some of the resources that she has through her company. It's like a pay equity company, and there are tech companies and different clients that they have that are really trying to tackle this issue of pay equity, especially between genders. And so, we might partner together and just figure out what data we can pull from that and share it back out. And she actually had some other great information. And this is stuff, you guys, honestly, that you can use in your own day-to-day job, right? Like, you should be aware of what your peers make as best as you can, gather that information, or using different resources online to figure out what you should be paid so that you can ask for more money. I think it's all in the same of knowing your worth and being willing to negotiate. And so I'm excited about that topic. So look for that survey. I'll set it up probably with Google Docs, and then you guys can let me know once you've made the teams and you feel safe and sound, just what the pay structure is like. And we'll share it back out anonymously, of course, okay? The next topic was just the dance industry being kind of crippled by this whole music licensing stuff. And me personally, I was just like, what is going on? Like, what is this weird sounding music that nobody know the name of it or the song? I'm like, I know I'm not that out of touch, but clearly I think just with, who knows, maybe just the licensing issues from not having fans at games and whatever. The companies, the rights holders have basically asserted themselves pretty heavy in enforcing copyright infringement. And, with social media especially, they're just finding ways of trying to get a hold of it and how they can keep collecting money for playing their artist songs. And so I think it's really been a challenge for teams to share their performances and things like that on social media. And I am not an Instagram expert, but I know that there's talk of like, or people use reels in some form or fashion to kind of get around it. Like even I know better too, you guys, because I did not copyright, but intellectual property law when I practiced. So technically, I knew my little snippets. I considered it fair use, but you know how Instagram is. I've had my stuff taken down before. But bottom line is, everybody's having to work around that for social media so that they can still use the content that they want. And this is probably a little off topic, but I'm just kind of like, I know that there are DJs that kind of do mixes, and there's just a lot of ways of kind of masking maybe the music that you're using. But it does sound like it's getting a little like, just like sound effects galore, like you're in a Star Wars movie, like just, Anyway, I'm not going to try to make a soundtrack here, but the point is, it's like getting a little distracting, if you will. Like, I don't know what you guys think. I'm curious if like maybe we can get a DJ that does those types of mixes, maybe a couple choreographers, and maybe just have like a music episode, because I would imagine that it would be a little limiting to not be able to be inspired by music. I mean, I know I would be if I were a choreographer. So I don't know how you guys feel dancing to that kind of music, but I'm not exactly like in love with that either. But I know we're doing the best we can so that we aren't. Because I think I heard that that's how the Atlanta Falcons cheerleaders like Instagram got taken down because of that. That's what I heard. Anyway, I hope that's not the real reason, but we don't want that happening, and I dang sure don't want mine taken down. So I'm going to try to behave this season and use the music functionality to post when episodes launch. But anyway, next topic. You guys ready? People wanted an update on the dance teams that have been cut and kind of like what's the latest going on there. And, I definitely plan to keep looking and keep an eye out. I don't know where the Charger girls are, if they're coming back, what's going on with that. I keep mentioning it. Nobody says anything, so Lord knows what's happening. But there are NBA teams as well that have somewhat disappeared. Some have come back kind of under the radar. So I'll kind of like weave in the latest updates on how these teams are doing, especially the newer ones, right? So another topic was the team uniforms and program dynamic changes. Whether that's the look, the style, the members, and we're talking about like dramatic changes. And I think we focused a lot on kind of like the change that happened with the Washington football team at the end of last season. But there are also other teams that are going through changes, and there's just obviously not a lot of room for you. I think the dancers and cheerleaders to have a voice in those changes. They just freaking happen, and the changes come down, and everybody's just left kind of scrambling and just dealing with it. But it's just something that we just have to continue to talk about. And you guys probably already know what keyword I'm going to mention in terms of how to get a voice at that table. But I do want to talk about just some of the other programs and how you guys actually feel about the changes, and actually what you would want to do, right? If you were in charge, or if you had a voice to the front office and the management as to what changes you want to see. I think this is probably one of the few platforms where we can actually try to define that, like, hey, this is the kind of change that we would want to make to our program, or this is a change that we just absolutely don't want to make, and why. And maybe you guys hear feedback from fans, and your information and your insight and your perspective, I think, could be very helpful. And I just think we probably have to put it out there into the universe, what it is that we would want, or you would want, because these changes are happening, and they happen to programs that you would least expect, and we've all seen that. So we'll keep talking about it. But I just did notice somebody sent me like a clip of the Tennessee Titans like dance audition video, like across the floor choreography stuff that they did. Anyway, stuff's getting a little complex, and maybe that's not what I had as the impression of like the style of the Titans. I mean, clearly they have the stunting team and the dance team, but change of leadership and things can go like totally different just based on like new choreographers that come in. But I thought it was like hella technical and just kind of slightly extra, but that was just my opinion. But it did raise a thought of like, and I'd love to discuss this on an episode, is just like, do you guys think that pro cheerleading or pro dance team style is staying preserved as a style, or is it kind of moving more in the direction of like a competitive cheer or a competitive dance team from college, because I'm starting to feel like it's blending in a way that I won't even say like I don't like it. I sound like I don't like anything today. I'm very happy to be here. I like everything. No, but it just seems like it's kind of shifting, right? And the emphasis on technique is great. Obviously, we want the best talent and all of that on these teams. It's the professional level. But yeah, something about the style just seems to be meshing to me. What do you guys think? You guys let me know. But that's something that I think we could talk more about as we look at each program. Okay, another great idea was just the team social media accounts and like rating them. And I think there are some teams that do it so well. The Brooklyn Nets come to mind with the NBA, obviously Golden State Warriors as well, NBA. I like the Raiderettes Instagram account. I just think their posts, I mean, there are a couple other good teams that come to mind, but I just think that it's just very sleek. It has a whole style. It comes across really nicely. And I think different teams manage their social media differently. Some of them have like a whole social media committee on the team. Some have an actual staff member that coordinates through kind of like the front office. I don't know. But it made me think that like, depending on the resources and the support that you have within the organization, you can really shine in that way. And I definitely think the way that your teams are presented on social media, you either feel proud of it or you're just like, oh God, can we, can we, can we just step it up a notch or get with the times? And, I don't know if that's how you feel about your team. But yeah, I think there's just a wide variety of teams that are doing things right. And that makes me kind of want to have, like, for a season finale, almost like our own little awards that we can have categories for of like, best social media, best uniform, not best director. I mean, there's so many good ones, but just different categories to recognize the achievements in our space. And so I'll give that some thought, but you guys let me know. I might ask for some more input on award category ideas. So that'll be kind of like season finale, but be thinking about it. I might ask questions here and there to like figure out how we can start to get that going and be able to vote for it by the end of the season. Another topic was the Raiderettes. Here we go again, Raiderettes, but their new facility, you guys, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen people posting either pictures or videos of them being in the new facility for the first time. And let me just say, like, whoa. I mean, yes, it reminds you of DCC, like with the pictures in the locker room and their names up, but it is just so glamorous. And obviously they have this beautiful stadium that they didn't get to touch hardly all last year thanks to the Rona. But it looks like, just based on them putting their pictures up and maybe they're taking the same squad and not really having auditions. But it is fabulous. It's freaking fabulous. I encourage you to go check it out if you haven't seen it. I loved that they had like a wall of like all the award recipients, like Raiderette of the Year and Rookie of the Year and all that stuff. They actually created like a big wall to recognize and preserve that. I just love programs that like embrace their history and celebrates it and doesn't just like wipe it off the freaking face of the earth. I think it's great. So I think their facility is beautiful and they looked great in their performance. It looked like their debut performance on the field. So congratulations to them all. If you guys really did kind of not roll over, but you know what I mean. If last year's squad was able to stay on so that they can actually experience the full season, I think that's a great decision in this case. I mean, I kind of feel like that for a couple other NFL teams, but that one in particular didn't look like they got to do anything. But the rest of them, NFL auditions are underway, and definitely, like I said, I'll be giving updates about the teams as they form and announcements are made. Are y'all ready for the spicy topic? Today's topic that's kind of going to take over Cheer Chat, and let me look at the time. Okay, I'm doing good. Is just a deep dive on mixed gender teams. This was another topic that people wrote in about, and then just based on, just a lot of back and forth, I just thought maybe we could just kind of tease out how we can discuss this as a community, because I think it's starting to feel a little controversial, whether it's just how female dancers in the pro cheer and dance community feel about co-ed teams, or just kind of competing with men for spots on teams who are in audition season. There's just a lot of different emotions I think that are starting to build, and they're conflicting emotions, I probably should dare to say. I mean, I think even when Brittany and I started and we did our Boys Just Want to Have Fun episode in our first season, we were just kind of talking about not necessarily pros and cons, but different considerations about having men join the NFL teams. And obviously, with the NBA, there have been a lot of co-ed teams forming. And so it generates a lot of, conversation. And I would love for it not to be polarizing, right? Where it's like we're kind of pitted against one another and it's not, people showing support for one another. But it does seem like it's just something that we should talk about because at the end of the day, when they do move to a co-ed team, men and women are competing for the spots. And it's just getting, I think, a little uncomfortable. And I've tried to figure out like what's the best way for us to talk about that because I know people don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to offend. It's complex. And I think people kind of want to like talk it out or think it through how they really feel about it. Especially when you're seeing like all female teams, like the tradition of it and just the legacy of it just getting wiped away. I think that triggers a lot of different emotions in women as well. And then there are just, male dancers. And I mean, I've interviewed a good number of them on the podcast, which just broadened my perspective as well for people who have trained, several years of their life as well to have different opportunities in dance. And so I just think it's a healthy, wonderful conversation for us to try to have together. And in an episode, I'm like, how can I do that if it's like people are not really willing to speak up or maybe Clubhouse, maybe I need to give it another little whirl. And if people think that that might be a good platform for it, then we can try and just kind of like with love, talk about different considerations or where it's coming from or anyway, either that or I'm going to just kind of struggle my way through it and probably get some feedback from you guys and just share it in an episode and I can debate it by myself. But I think it would be kind of good for us to talk about it together. And I'm going to share a post with you guys just to kind of queue up someone that's joining us at 6. I came across this post thanks to someone sharing it with me just as a result of going to the Washington football team auditions. So pardon the reading, but I'm going to read it to you guys. So he says, "Let me take a moment and say that I'm very disappointed in the Washington organization and their decision on the entertainment team. Apparently, none of the male-trained technical dancers were selected for the team, and only the male break beat your feet dancers were. In all caps, what was the point of promoting an all-inclusive team if it's not all-inclusive? This is a slap in the face not only to the first ladies of football, but to the male dancers who actually train in ballet, jazz, pom, and hip-hop dance styles. This was a waste of people's time. If you all wanted an all-female dance team with some break dancers on the side, then why were the First Ladies of Football disbanded? As a dancer, a man, and a proud member of the LGBTQ plus community, I'm very offended by this. This talk of change and diversity holds no weight whatsoever when there are no changes. If you all were concerned about men looking less masculine/gay alongside beautiful, strong, and brave women on that field, then the verbiage should have been different. Let's be very clear. History has never been made by playing it safe. This safe choice not to showcase the true artistry and training of dance on the male body is disgusting. You all had an opportunity to represent the men and women who have trained their bodies to perform leaps, turns, splits, and flips and choose not to represent anything at all. To the male finalists who did not make it, I'm very sorry and hope you all find your place in the professional dance world where a team of people wants to showcase your training and talent." And he used the hashtag representation matters. And I read that a few times, but I was really struck by that because I don't know what happened at the Washington football team auditions over the weekend. I reached out and asked if he'd be willing for me to share his post and just mention that I'd be going live, and he expressed openness to joining me today, which I'm really grateful for. I didn't get the sense that it was like I didn't make the team and I'm bitter and angry kind of a post at all. I think there were just a lot of good points in here about, when you go co-ed, what are you really trying to accomplish as a team? What are they really envisioning? And maybe being more clear about that vision. All these buzzwords with the Washington football team were like clearly all over the place and out of control in terms of what they were looking for based on what they already had. But I think it's just really telling how they must have conducted auditions if indeed a lot of the trained dancers that weren't just kind of like hip hop, I don't even want to say street dancers, but whatever they were looking for. I mean, I've seen clips of from different people who posted about auditions and just what are we doing? I just think it's a good question. What are we really doing? And I'm so glad that he was willing to join us today. And just so you guys know, after we chat with Brandon, I will kind of finish the rest of the episode where I share the feedback on the audition prep classes that people have taken. I can't wait to share that with you. And so until we get him on, I'm just going to give you a little preview. The most glowing messages came in for the Train with Tiff program and Next Level Prep. And so I'm just like so bubbly and excited about sharing that feedback. It's not too late technically if you guys have taken some audition prep classes or training classes that you want to discuss or, give some feedback on, whether it's constructive or helpful, things that, really helped you reach your goals now that you're in audition season. I'm happy to try to incorporate that feedback. If you guys don't know Train with Tiff, Tiffany, she was a former NFL and NBA dancer and is a college coach. And I peeped up one of her classes. She was nice enough to kind of give me a pass to see. And it was great. I mean, amazing choreography. She manages to watch everybody on Zoom, carefully watch people on Zoom, provide feedback to each dancer. I'm like, wow, how do you even handle all of that, right? Because everything's virtual. But heard great feedback on the value of the program, just in terms of the cost, the routines, the training, like lots of great reviews on that. And again, Next Level Prep, whose owner Jasmine, I'm just like such a big fan of. She is an NBA dancer with the Atlanta Hawks, formerly with the Washington Wizards. And she's launched this company. I don't even know technically timing wise, but I feel like it was like literally not that long ago. And for the amount of success that she's had, it's just like mind blowing and so excited for her. But there were just so many wonderful reviews of her program as well. Just your passion, Jasmine, for your dancers and all that you do to help them reach their goals, just your flexibility, just lots and lots of nuggets. So I'm going to save it because I do want to, dig into each review. There were themes for sure, but there were just some really good feedback. And I think it's great. We don't really have like a Yelp of like pro cheer stuff. So like I said, if you want to shout out a program that's helped you reach your goals, just hit me up and let me know. And I'm happy to incorporate that. I think there are, again, just certain points about co-ed dance teams that I think, like I said, just warrant further discussion. And it's up to you guys how you want to go about that. But I think it's just a healthy debate to have. And I'm excited to try to facilitate that with you guys. He's here, so I'm going to let him in. Hello. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Well, it's very, very nice to meet you. My name's Mhkeeba. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I saw a video that you posted today. I don't know if that was for the auditions, but you're clearly trained. Okay, trained, and very, very talented. So tell us a little bit about you and your training and background.
So my name is Brandon Belmiro, White Low. I have been dancing now for about 17 years. I started dancing seriously in high school. I went to a fine arts Catholic high school here in the DMV. Shout out to Bishop Mhkeeba. I studied under Victoria Keithline and Danielle Ward and Victor Ba. I then started to take the Vaganova method in ballet, the Shiketti method in ballet, Afro jazz, Broadway jazz, hip hop. So it started there. And
Okay.
one thing that just kind of struck me with dance was that it was just limitless. There was, as long as there was music and a song in your heart, you could dance. And I was like, this feels right for me.
Okay.
Went to Morehouse College and was like, I wanted to be in journalism. Didn't want to be in journalism, and I went into the Disney College program, and where I started to do shows and parades, and I ended up staying there for like 2 years, just literally dancing and performing every day, and I just fell in love with it. And then after that, I came back home, and next thing you know, I had the opportunity to dance with the Washington Wizards, so I'm also a former NBA Go Wizards.
Yes. Who was the director? Was it Derek?
Yeah.
Okay.
My coach was the infamous Derek Whitfield,
Absolutely.
who was an amazing coach, who allowed me to be a part of the first co-ed team that they had brought to Washington D.C. So it was literally a dream come true, and I got to like be a part of that team. Its inaugural season, and then after that, I went into coaching. And now I am the DMV Lady Warriors semi-pro dance team coach. And
Okay.
they are everything and more. They're my babies. I did not fall out of love of dance,
Okay.
but I learned a different avenue of dance that, of course, is not like traditionally promoted, and you don't really hear about like coaching and editing music and doing the videography. It's so much that goes into dance performance. And I just fell in love with coaching. So here we are.
So what led you to want to audition for the new entertainment team with the Washington football team? Like, what did you hear about it? What were your thoughts?
Definitely sparked my interest was as a coach, in order for you to be a better coach to your team, you have to learn with your team. And, I told them I would be a complete hypocrite if I did not take on that new opportunity and go and try out for this new team. Although, there was a lot of controversy with it and things like that. It's like, hey, new team, it's a new opportunity. Go out there and just try it and see what it is they're looking for. They've been training nonstop since last year November. So why not go for it? And like I said, for me to have not have gone, it would have been a complete waste. How can I inspire other people? How can other people look up to me? How can they learn from me if I'm not going out there and learning myself?
Right.
So that's what kind of the go ahead. Of course, trust and believe, I was not looking for anything out of it, just like for experience. It was just like, hey, let's go and try this new
thing out, right?
Yeah, right. So that was kind of what inspired it, and of course, everybody was just like, Brandon, you have to try out. You have to try out. I was like, okay, so let's do it.
And what was your impression of like what they were looking for with the new team? Because like you said, there was a lot of controversy around forming the team, and even with Pasha, not Pasha, good Lord, what is my brain today? Petra Pope, sorry, when she was speaking about the formation of the new team and what she was looking for. It did sound a little, frankly, all over the place, if you ask me, of like what it was that they were really looking for that they didn't already have, all of those things. And so what did you kind of, I know you didn't really have like expectations in that way, but what was your hope or impression of what they were looking for?
So my hope personally was that they were going to expand what the First Ladies of Football had already built.
Got it.
That they would continue the legacy of training, of fitness, of health, of community engagement, and of course just being like a well-rounded performer overall. The First Ladies of Football are a legendary team. I think the part of what made the First Ladies of Football legendary was that, first of all, they're like one of the first. So you have to acknowledge that. And then like the formula of performance, of fan engagement, of training, they kept that and they stood by that. And that was something that I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for now everybody who is either male, female, tall, short, whatever, like just go in and like let's just all dance together. So I was looking more so for a sense of togetherness,
right,
than in the dance world. I was personally looking to see if there was a sense of inclusivity that that was promoted. That was like we want a little bit of everything.
That's what I definitely saw.
We girls, we want light beat. Leg, we want spin, we want twirl, like we want everything. And I think a part of entertainment is that's kind of what makes entertainment when there is a show that is jam-packed instead of it just being this one little thing, So I was looking definitely more so for a more inclusive audition where they were going to evaluate you on almost really anything. Like, could you do this? Could you do that? Could you do this? I was really expecting it to be like a checklist of skills to see where you could execute and where you could not execute. So that's personally I thought it was going to be.
Got you. Okay. Well, now that's super helpful, and I appreciate just how well you laid that out for everybody, just because I think I can definitely track like what like I said, it was a little all over the place, maybe what they were looking for, but just they used inclusiveness or inclusivity and representation and diversity a lot in the way that they were pitching auditions. So I think it's reasonable to expect that they were looking for diversity of talent, and especially in evaluating male dancers to now be a part of the team, that they weren't just limiting male dancers in any way to just a particular style of dance. What was the process? Like, you show up, I mean, they didn't post a lot of info. I didn't sign up to get more info. Like, what was kind of the process like for auditions?
The audition process was actually a very quick audition process. They, of course, as promoted, they were looking for a wide range of dancers. So we, of course, got in. There was, of course, social distancing in place, sat down, and then there was an announcement, like, for those that could do gymnastics, the breakdance style, the beat your feet style, to come on down to the field. And during that time, it was kind of like a show us what you got kind of deal, where it was like, we're going to play a song and
you just freestyle and
you can freestyle. You can really just do whatever you felt would impress. There was no like rubric or guideline as to what it was that they wanted to see. They just went for it. And then if they felt that you were what they were looking for, they passed those individuals a number and were like, thank you so much. We'll schedule you an interview time and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow would be, finals. So it was like very, very fast.
So like no kind of like, we're going to teach you. Well, wait, I'll just let you go. So that's quick though. If finals is the following step.
The first round.
Okay.
And that was, like I said, that was strictly for those that did like the break dance, the beat your feet, and the tumblers. Like strictly like just yeah. That was not open to everybody. That was like strictly for that group.
Got it. Okay.
And then was the part 2 to the audition, which was for those that were like the technical, and I don't really like to use that word, but for like the trained dancers, who were like, hip hop, jazz, modern dancers. They were a part of the part 2, and during the part 2, it was an across the field combination, which was pretty much you start on counts 1, 2, you have a 3-step turn, 3 and 4, pose on 5, pose on 6, ball change 7, 8, double on 1, 2, down Shanae 3, 4, arch back lift up 5, 6, turn down of it, and 7, ball change till 8, and restart the combination. So very fast.
I'm like trying to keep up with you. Like okay, got it. But go.
Just a little simple combination.
Okay.
But I'm gonna do a little sidebar from there. From that combination, I definitely thought they were looking for like, you have to be trained. You have to be skilled. You have to like be skilled to like pass into the next round. And from there, they did like it was the same kind of idea. Like, if you are told to go over here, like, thank you so much, you were free to go. But if you were told to please stay, you made it into round 2. And then, of course, round 2 being like the actual combination from the guest choreographer that they had. And then there was like a little break for people to get water, have snacks, things like that. And then they started the guest choreography. It was more of a pop lock routine. I don't really know like the correct name of it. I know it's hip hop, but it's more of like the pop and lock style, where it's like a lot of isolation. There were a lot of floor tricks and things like that. You know what I mean? So it was on the cusp of it being like a break dance, but really more so like that pop lock route. Almost kind of like very similar to like the Jabberwockies or something like that. Which is like, those like really small movements that like make a big impression. So it was
that really don't look good on an NFL field. But go ahead. Sorry, my commentary might get a little extra. But
anyway, so it was like, for me personally, I saw that and I was like, whoa, like this is different.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I'm not gonna lie, like as many years as I have been dancing, I've never trained in that style. So it was very different, and it was intimidating. Like, I can even say, like, as a coach, as a dancer, like, it was wasn't an intimidating combo. However, thing that I did that I think kind of was a little turning point for me in that audition was like, okay, if this is the choreography, that means that this is what is going to be expected, like in a game. And if this is what's expected in a game, this is probably how the whole team is going to move. So I think so. It was very odd from like doing the across the field to doing like the combination that was done, because I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like if this was the across the field, the combo was about to be like, okay, let's see you leap, let's see you turn, let's see you aerial. Like I was thinking that, and it definitely was not that. One thing I will say that I forgot to previously mention, there was for promotional, there was a TikTok that was created by the guest choreographer that I did see and learn prior to the audition. That was like literally the same style, and I thought it was going to be a little bit of that and a little bit of this. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be a little bit more so mixed in with like the pop lock style with more of the traditional, like, you know, jazz, hip hop style, pro action style almost, if I say.
Yeah.
And it was not that. So then, of course, after learning it, we went in groups and they deliberated and then they selected their finalists. And after selecting finalists, they selected a few young ladies. They selected a few of the young men that were there. It was only like 4 of us that had made it to that second round. Okay. 3 of them had made it, excluding myself. I did not make it to the finalist round. And that was that. Of course, for me personally, 2 of the young ladies on my team made it to the finalists. So I was like, thankfully, like I was just happy for that.
Absolutely.
Just, you know, like I kind of left it at that, you know what I mean? But it was definitely different.
Yeah.
You know, like it was very much so different. And I think that was like that was kind of like the question mark for me, where it was like, well, this isn't really what was promoted, you know? Like this wasn't what was advertised. Like you say you want this, but then the routine is this. And personally, if this was going to be the choreography, this was going to be the combo that was given, why didn't we use that choreography on those that are trained in it? For example, like the breakdance.
Right. That's kind of the part that's confusing.
You know, again, I get it. Like if you're gonna say you're a dancer, say you're a dancer. Like be on your leg, be able to do everything. I totally get it.
Right.
But when you say like we want this, and then it's strictly this, it kind of was like off-putting. You know. So I think for me, was like where the whole audition kind of just did like a 360, and I was like, maybe I should sit this one out, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm digesting everything that you're saying, and just kind of like, I definitely would have been thrown off, and maybe that happens on auditions. That's just a thing. But, you know, when I think of the promotional video that they posted on their Facebook page, I shared it on my Instagram story. It was almost comical, frankly, of like very hip hop, hairy kickball change, hip hop moves it was just real. It was embarrassing, frankly. I mean, I didn't expect that to be like the combo maybe in auditions, but it's just confusing. It's all around the board confusing, just hearing what I've seen, at least what was promoted, and kind of hearing about how they did it. And if it's to intentionally throw people off, or it just doesn't seem consistent with what they even were like screening for, because I'm confused. I'm just confused. Very confused.
I think when I saw the promotional video, I definitely get the vibe of it being more of a team, so to say. I think I got more so, we are looking for entertainment, like in general. I got like a general entertainment perspective, where it was looking for people to strictly entertain. Because, you know, if it were to be a team, you would see like everybody doing the same thing, you know what I mean? The same style, the same vibe, you know, maybe a flip here, a trick there. But it was segments of different skills and different tricks and things that almost made it seem as if like everybody was like their own soloist, so to say,
Right, which
like
doesn't seem
we
like it would
gave
be
me
like a
that.
team. Yeah, because just even segregating, I mean, when you think about NFL auditions, when there is a like a stunting team, for example, and you kind of segregate out certain elements that you want to see based on just the talent and what you're, it makes sense to kind of break out a portion of the audition for that subset of people and then kind of having tailored audition material for those different groups. But I am definitely getting the vibe, like you said, that it's just kind of like getting a large entertainment team that has like just a lot of different individual styles or. And I'm just trying to think about, like, again, this just goes back to like an NFL field, right? Maybe it'll look cool, maybe more on an NBA court to be able to highlight those types of individual skill sets, like, the solos or the freestyles in that way. Like when you see a lot of the hike teams, for example, and what they do, it's not all synchronized as a routine. They kind of each take a turn and show off, and not all the time, but I just think it's just very confusing, like what this team ultimately is going to look like on the field, because you have such a vast amount of space. And, I think what's unique about NFL choreography is when you really are utilizing that space and you're creating visuals and, just the formations and the different transitions. And yes, you do dance in the end zones where it's tighter, but it's just, I don't know how well that's going to translate on a football field where from far away you're going to see one person popping in. I don't know what the hell they're going to have them do, but you're going to have some little trick or two, and it's just going to seem like one person. They're going to look like they're going like this on the field from far away. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know how that's going to translate, but that's just me.
Being in this new coaching position, I try to look at every aspect of what is happening in the space, and of course, because the team that my team is for, they delayed their season due to COVID. So I had told my young ladies, like, hey, we're going to train and we're going to get you ready for these auditions, and we're going to get you on your leg. We're going to get you stretched. We're going to get you to all your splits. We're going to get you turning. We're going to get you really into it. So that we're more confident. We're going to do mock auditions. We're going to have guests come in and like help you with it, just so that way you can be introduced to people in the industry and just be acclimated with the pro industry. So for me personally, I think the thing that from like what my post had said on yesterday, which really resonated with me, was there are young women and there are young men who eat, sleep, breathe, dream dance. And when you get to a certain age where you need income and you want to still do what you love to do, and you hold on to this training and you hold on to this passion that you have, it's almost like when you go into an audition and you've trained for it and you have worked on it, and then someone says like, oh, well, this is what we're going to do. It's almost like it's so offensive, it's really hurt, because you go into these auditions thinking that you're prepared, that you have done the work, that you have took the training, that you are pulling up in your turns, that you are sitting in your toe touches, that you're doing like, the traditional things. And I hate to use that word traditional, but like just like the that's the word, the fundamental skills that like almost every team, NBA, NFL, like even the hockey league at this point, like you see these fundamental skills that almost every team hits. You see it used in pro action dance. You see these pro action choreographers who literally are 90% of the pro dance world, and you see them using these skills like these head springs and these hip ups. Like you see it and you're like, I have to get this skill. I have to know this. I have to get this. I have to do these interviews. I have to make sure I look like this. I mean, there are girls who I know, not girls, there are young ladies that I know who have trained with sideline prep and who work and who have paid money for sideline prep just so that way they can make this NBA, NFL dream come true. And then you go to the audition and none of what they taught you is a part of that audition.
Right.
And it's like, well, what did I do? What did I spend my money on? What did I invest my time in? And then next thing you know, you're thinking to yourself, like, is it me? And for me, like, thankfully, like, I don't know what everybody's denomination is, but, like, I believe in, Team Jesus. And I think God really does look out for, his special little child, his special little fabulous child. But I will, like, for me personally, I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I feel like when that happened, I wanted to verbalize that for everybody and say, like, this isn't fair. Like, you are going to say, hey, we want this all-inclusive team. We want a team that's going to be diverse. We want the leg, we want the trick, we want the hairspring, we want the B-boy, we want the B-girl. We want, like, people who can spin on their head, and we want the people to spin on releve. Like, if that's what you want, and then you go strictly down this one lane when you had all of these other pathways and avenues of dance in general, it's literally a slap in the face. And it's not just a slap in the face to, like, the auditioners, but to the previous team who worked so hard to build what it was. And for me personally, now that I am in this coaching position, whenever there is, like, a poison, like, that is in the team, and you don't have the antidote to the poison, like, it will always be there. It will always remain. It's not something that, like, you can just, like, sleep on and the next day. No, it will still be there.
Right.
So, the issues, and be clear, my post was not directed at any one specific person. It was directed at the organization as a whole. So when the organization is saying, like, we want this, and this is going to be our resolution to this problem, the problem can still persist because you didn't solve anything at all. You tried to erase a problem, and now you have created a bigger problem because people who gave you their time and who have invested, their energy and their, gas alone, it's just like, well, dang, what was this for, So I also, too, I am a very optimistic person when it comes to choreography. I feel like if you have an eye for it, absolutely go for it. You know what I mean? If you have a vision and you can see your vision through, it will read to somebody. FedEx Field seats almost, it's the biggest stadium. So, like, over it seats over 20,000 for sure. So somebody in that crowd is definitely going to say, like, I like this, and that's not even being shady. That's not being catty. Just somebody might like it. And I even had told my team, like, be clear, even though none of the young ladies from my team were selected, to stay tuned and to watch, because at the end of the day, this could be a team that you say, like, hey, I do like this. I do like this style. I do like what they're doing, because even if it is just a performance team in general, now it's just up to you to train to be a bomb performer in anything,
Right.
I think one thing that personally, and I guess, like, for myself, I would say, like, speaking from the male perspective, it's very difficult to walk into audition. Just sometimes, like, as a man, as as someone who is comfortable in their sexuality, as somebody who is living in their truth, and say, like, hey, like, this is me, this is the skill that I have, let's go. Some organizations are going to see all of this, and they'll be like, ooh, that might not work. And I know that going into auditions, and I am, like, that's just kind of the professional mentality that I have and that I know. There will auditions that I personally go to where people will say, like, ooh, he might be a risk. But one thing that I can say, like, with Dancing with the Wizards, and which is why I'm so grateful to my former coach, is he allowed me to be all of this, but pushed me to make sure I was always good.
Yeah.
And that whatever I did, like, it regardless of how people personally felt, they couldn't say anything about my dance ability.
Right.
So I kind of lived in that, and, like, that's how I try to coach. Like, you, regardless of how you look, regardless of your size, regardless of your hair color, your hair texture, your waistline, the size of your breast, the size of your buttock, like, you have to sell dance and make sure that it is good and it's memorable.
Right.
That's kind of like how I went into, the NBA, and that's what I think pulled people into me personally. I enjoyed every routine. To be clear, I'm not sitting here saying, like, oh, like, I was the team. No, like, there were times where I went onto that court and I completely effed up. There were times where I forgot. There were times where I made a little simple mistake, but to be able to living my truth in front of 18,000 people and say, like, this is Brandon. This is what Brandon's going to do. And I'm sure you have the best game day experience. That was like the world to me. So I kind of thought that Washington was going to kind of go that route.
Right.
The LA Rams, for example, and like the first season they went co-ed, they had like Quentin and Napoleon. I stormed just by being like on their leg, living in like their talent, like they kept up with what was already there. And that's what made it good. It was the fact that, like, aside from their talent, aside from the diversity of the team, because it was a huge team, like, they really pulled you in. And of course, like, even when the team like started to announce like, hey, we now have like 2 boys, I'm speaking strictly on like its first season.
Right.
Of course, there were like hecklers and people were just like, oh, like we should have just kept it all girls and blah blah blah. And it's like, you know, hey, have your opinion. But one thing like nobody could ever say was like they were bad.
Right.
Or they
couldn't dance. They didn't.
meet the expectations,
Exactly.
So I think that was my hope for this new team, for it to be a diverse team. And be clear, like now that I'm on the LA Rams, they've done every style. They do every style. Like that's just like the coaching staff, the choreographers. They make sure that they give you the whole package. They make sure they give you a jazz. They make sure they give you a hip hop. They make sure they give you a pom, and they make sure that it works. Because even for me, you can go to like UDA and look at these collegiate teams compete, and every now and then you might see a boy on the floor, and it's like, oh, he must be able to like keep up. And that's what sometimes makes it good, when you see the boy and that he's doing the same exact thing, and it's like, wow, like you respect it that much more. You respect the girls that are the young ladies that are beside the boys and the young men, and you're just like, wow, like she can jump just as high as him. He can turn just as fast as her. That's what really makes the team cohesive. That's what makes it mesh well together, you know? So like I said, I think that was my expectation overall for like the team, especially looking at DCC Rhythm and Blue. I think that team is phenomenal. They always bring the smoke. Like, and it's another diverse team, a very diverse team. It's all inclusive. You have b-boys, you have b-girls, exactly. And, like you have jazz, you have hip hop, and it's like they literally mesh so well, and they make this one fantastic team. So I think that for me, like I said, that was just my expectation. That is something that I was looking forward to with being like at the time, hopefully like being a part of the team, being a part of the organization. But definitely was something that, like I said, it was a little hurtful, to be perfectly honest, to have been informed from one of the young men that did not make the team. He made the finals but did not make the team. He was like, hey, to let you know, like, didn't make the team, blah, 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 blah. I'm okay, but, you know, like, whatever. And I was just like, but you're so talented. Like, you're so good. Like, what? Like, I know that. Like, I saw you. Like, you hit it. Like, you had it. Like, what happened? So it's just like, you go into these auditions and you see these words being used, like diverse and inclusive and co-ed, and then it's like, well, what is it going to become? You know, I think sometimes in the pro dance world, when these teams do like these co-ed things and they start to add men to the dynamic, it's like they change everything just because you've added the male counterpart. And it's like, okay, well, maybe not everybody might be comfortable with men dancing with poms. Honestly, like not every guy is going to want to dance with poms, but give them the rally towel and have them do the same choreography and see like what people like, see how the engagement goes, you know, like consult season ticket holders, ask them like, hey, do you personally like this? Like, would you rather see this or that? You know, I think sometimes like in the mix of trying to make something happen, things get missed. And it's like we miss some of the check marks that are on the list to like making sure that everybody is represented, to make sure that everybody feels included in. even though I had no affiliation with First Ladies of Football, I just knew like a few of the few of the young ladies on the team. Even if the organization fell apart, they went to ruins and all that jazz, like whatever happened, acknowledge it. Let those young ladies have their moment. Give them their flowers. Have their banquet. Let people know, like, thank them.
Right.
And let them know that they are seen and that they are appreciated and that they are valued. And instead of just erasing a program, just say that we're expanding it. And let them be the faces for, like, these new auditioners. And, like, let them know that there is going to be this dynamic brought to the team. Let them know that there's going to be these choreographers. So that way, they then can say, hey,
we were a part of that change.
Or, hey, I don't think this is for me. Right. Don't just like X everybody out and not give them a choice or a voice when these are the people who represent the brand and these are the people that work so hard to promote a team that they love, Right. So overall, I just think it was just, it's really hard, even for like now that I'm coaching, it's really hard now. And I have discussed with my director and my assistant, like after that audition, I was like, I don't know what to train our girls in. Like I'm nervous, because if this was their audition, we need to like switch the dynamic, like I have my young ladies going across the floor doing bop mods and pirouettes and calypsos. Like that is like their usual practice. Doing like choreography that's along like the Oscar Hernandez and the Rob Rich and the Shandon Perez, like doing choreography style just so they can like get the tempo moving quickly, hitting a head spring, kip up, move over here, like travel over there, and then they go into an audition and it's nothing like that. Mm-hmm. And for me being a Washingtonian, a DMV native, I understand the culture that you want to bring into the stadium of having breakdance, having like the people, like the street performers who are like literally outside of your metro, who are like killing it on a piece of cardboard and a boombox. Bring that in, but make sure that when you're bringing that in, that you're also holding the door open for the people that have trained specifically for you, for the people who have dedicated time and effort to making sure that they had these skills and that they studied the team. Like, what was the point? That's one thing that happened in the pro world. They always say, like, you always hear young ladies and guys say, study the team that you're auditioning for.
I was just thinking like, that.
How do you study a team you're auditioning for if the team that you're auditioning for doesn't have material for you to study?
Right. And that I mean, not to interrupt, it's just kind of like when you think about the way that the whole change, I think, was rolled out and the level of transparency and visibility, I think that the existing team may or may not have had, and just the larger people watching like myself, I definitely feel like it was just elusive and kind of hide the ball of what the vision truly is or was. I mean, my familiarity with Petra's work and what I've seen her do with other NBA teams let me kind of know what to expect in terms of maybe what this vision that she had for the entertainment team. But again, I feel like even with the teams that I think she consulted with in the NBA, there wasn't really a lot of footage of what they did on the court, or those teams aren't even really around right now. So not really getting a lot to go off of in terms of like what this actually looks like on an NBA court or an NFL field. And because it's so different for NFL especially, I think it was probably a disservice not to share that vision a little bit more of what that could look like. Because again, to your point, and it just ties into this larger episode called feedback of like, there's audition prep companies and people spending and investing money and a lot of time and effort to try to prepare for these virtual auditions or in-person auditions. And I get that it's not like the commercial world where maybe you show up and you don't know what you're going to get and you just freaking do it and that's just the way it goes. But in this space, I think there's just room for a lot of respect to show for people who are thinking of pro cheer and dance as having certain elements that you need to prepare for and that you need to invest time in you're thinking that you are meeting certain requirements of what pro teams are looking for. And there's so many, there's a whole ecosystem here, right, of audition prep companies, dancers, there's semi pro teams and different people working towards this goal of making a professional team. And so just to kind of come in with this, I can just remix the whole thing and throw all this stuff into this pot. And the vibe that I got in the hearing of the way that they talked about building this team was just kind of like, if you have the talent, like it's almost like not setting people up for success. And it's just like this attitude of like, if you can handle this remix that I'm about to slap you with, then maybe you're good enough to make it. But to say that to people who are clearly very trained and would have probably at some point delivered what it is you were looking for once it was clear what the expectation was, it is a little bit, like you said, a slap in the face. And I think especially hitting on all the buzzwords that they did and promoting it of like diversity and inclusivity, I don't know how that was demonstrated just based on what you're sharing. And I'm just really grateful that you did share it, because I know that people are super sensitive about auditions, and when things don't, people sometimes don't even want to talk about it or don't want to share what it's actually like or what you actually experience and go through. But I thought, like I said, your post was just, it spoke to me in terms of just a conversation that was probably worth having, especially if these people with this vision of a co-ed team and thinking of incorporating men have a very, very narrow or specific idea of what that looks like, and are really excluding male dancers who have trained and who can bring these skill sets to the table. It is offensive. I mean, I would be offended if you say I want co-ed and I want men, but I really just want you, like you said, like maybe the street dance, the person who's on the outside the metro. Just say that. Just say that, because then I think people would know that what you actually are thinking of when you say co-ed isn't an actual blended, cohesive team of everybody with like equal skill sets and bringing the same things to the table, and then things that we've seen done successfully with several NFL teams. So I think it was very reasonable to have an expectation of an actual cohesive team where everybody gets to shine based on like not to say that you can't do something different, but just like, again, communication I think is important. Showing respect for the dancers I think is important in an audition process. And there's a fine line, but I just think it could have been handled so differently. And I'm not.
I think it's like the creative direction that a lot of people struggle with when these changes come about, and I think, of course, when you're pressed for time, pressed something happen and just make something work. Like I said, there are just certain little things that are missed, and I think, like I said, first and foremost, and I haven't even said, but I do wish this new team the best season possible. I want it to be as memorable and as fantastic as possible. I don't wish any ill to the team whatsoever. Like I said, I do plan to go and attend a game or two, like just so I can see like what it is that they are working to build. But like when you train and you work so hard, and you know, and I'm not saying just off of me, but I'm just speaking for anybody, man, female, cat, dog. Like, you work so hard on making sure that you know what to do, how to go about it, what to showcase, what not to showcase. Like even the basic interview skills,
right,
of how to say and where you're from, and a fun fact about yourself. Like, everybody knows that's a part of auditions, and then you don't even get to say your name to a judge or where you're from. You know what I mean? So it's like it's almost like you go in and you feel like, dang, like, is it me? Like, it makes you question who you are and where your worth is as a dancer, when,
right.
These opportunities, of course, it comes once a year. So it's a lot of, it hurts for a lot of people, and for me personally, I'm not saying like that I hurt, like I'm okay, like I'm fine, but it definitely, like I said, for those that like dream about this and who really want this, it's something that needs to definitely be discussed. It's something that needs to be addressed. And it's like I said, if there were to be, and I'm not speaking just on Washington, but just on teams in general that have gone co-ed, I'm sure that it takes a lot of people of a lot of different ethnicities, of a lot of different orientations, of a lot of different colors, of a lot of different styles to say, this is how we're going to cover everybody and do everything, you know? Like, even with the Golden State Warriors, they have a B-boy squad. And their B-boy squad is a strong B-boy squad.
Absolutely.
Like, the Celtics, they have their cheer team, they have their dance team, they mix together, boom. Like, Brooklyn, they have like a drumline, B-boys, like it's so much happening. It's just like, wow, like this is entertaining, you know, like, and I think even with the NFL, like progressively making these changes to go co-ed and to do these things, it's like, I understand that football is America's game. It's America's sport. It's like a homegrown sport. But in a world that is constantly changing and where people are becoming more and more aware of insensitivity and they're becoming more aware of inclusivity, you know, like you really want to make sure that everybody feels respected and appreciated for their work.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty much like where I feel like in this case specifically, the ball was dropped somewhat because you're now only targeting this one audience of dance, because I do consider it dance, but you're specifically saying like we're only doing this, and there was no announcement, there was no protocol, there was no preparation for strictly, you know. So, but like I said, I think just like to all of the dancers out there that train and that work hard, like keep doing it. Like don't stop. Like do not stop just because the team says, yo, not this season, not this year, you're not what we're looking for. But also too, I think the biggest lesson for me from this audition specifically was, one, as a coach, to always be mindful of the communication. To always be mindful of it.
Yeah.
To make the communication that is promoted is clear, that it is concise, that it is direct, that it is going to be in accordance to what it is we plan to do.
I meant to ask you, because they did have like a training prep or audition prep class one day. Were you able to go to that, or did you hear anything about what that was like?
Prior engagement that I had,
okay.
I did have a few of the young ladies that are on my team who did go.
Okay.
Prep class, which was I believe like on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then on that following Monday, we did a mock audition in the NFL style.
Right.
So I had a guest actor come in and just do like, you know, he looked at a couple of videos from like, you know, NFL performances and things and did something within the style of like just an NFL routine, you know what I mean? We did interview skills and things like that just to better prepare them. But, you know, there was, like I said, there was only one prep class.
Yeah, it was very unusual that there was only one. I just wasn't sure if maybe in that one prep class that maybe there was a glimpse into what you could expect. But that's a really good point about communication, I think, you know, and transparency, frankly. And I think you raised a good point. Just overall, like the way that they went about this change and kind of like whatever is underlying the culture that they're wanting to put forward. Like this is a whole rebranding. This is a whole new Washington football team that they're trying to take this opportunity to kind of like distance themselves from a lot of the issues that they've had as a team with their ownership and whatnot. And so, like you said, it just sounds like it's like just dropped balls, missed opportunities. You know, I can go on and on and on. I'm being on my best behavior with company here, but I just think it definitely sounds like yet another fumble in this whole process, and it's really unfortunate because this is a community, you know, of pro cheerleaders and dancers, and I think There's a mutual respect of an understanding of what this space is, and yes, it does need to evolve in different ways, and I think there's a way to go about that. But I think, again, especially because the creative direction was from the perspective of what has viewed to be working in like NBA arenas, which is just different than an NFL stage, frankly. And so we'll have to see what this entertainment team looks like. I know that there hasn't been like a formal announcement of who made the team, and we won't be able to see until later, I guess, what their performances look like. But I'm just disappointed. I mean, I'm glad that you shared what the experience is like. I think overall, even if you're, especially if you're going to introduce a radical change, there is a way of doing that shows respect for those who would have been rightfully like rattled by it. You think on your feet, you're prepared as a dancer, we're all professionals. You know, you can go on and on down that path, but I just think that they could have gone about this a lot differently. And like you said, preparing for this moment and this one opportunity that comes once a year, and just, you know, you almost feel like you did something wrong or weren't ready, or you just, I don't know, just, it would just completely rattle everything that you would have done that wouldn't have been wrong, technically, you know, to prepare in the way that you would have to kind of go through that kind of experience. Anyway, I'm just so happy that you were willing to talk and share, because it's such an important conversation. And again, I think, you know, there's so many issues. It's layered with teams going co-ed, and I think you wonderfully stated just kind of like an approach that would be appreciated for people, for male dancers who have trained and who really are excited about the opportunity to showcase all of that talent and training. And so these teams should just really be mindful of how they go about incorporating men into their teams. Don't do it to be cool. Don't do it as a fluke. Don't do it without really a plan. Like, there's a way to do this right, I think.
I totally agree. I know, like, you're wrapping up. I just want to say, like, one thing for me, I think that kind of really pulled me into the audition. But when I saw it, I immediately thought of Napoleon.
Yeah.
Because I see myself in him, you know, where he has all this talent, and he has like this makeup, and look at his eyebrows, like he's snatched, and oh my God, he works out. Like, I saw that, and I was like, I relate to that. So I know, like I said earlier, out of 100,000 people in that arena, one person might say, like, I can relate to that, and I wanted to bring that here. You know?
Yeah.
Like, where somebody, whether it was a boy, girl, cat, dog, if they saw me and they said, like, I get that, I understand that, you know. And I wanted to be, not, like I said, not just off of dance, but just like off of representation. You know?
Right.
You see, like, little girls, all, like, for as long as we can remember, you grow up and you see the cheerleader and you're like, I want to be her when I grow up.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a true story for a lot of people, where they say, like, I went to my first game when I was 5, and now here I am dancing for the team. Like, it sticks to people, you know. And I think now, like I said, we're in this new time, and we're in this new age of representation, of inclusivity, of diversity. Like, you check each box and make sure that everything that, first of all, be clear, sure that what you are selecting is, of course, going to be able to do what you are required.
I wanted them to do, absolutely.
Make sure that what you are selecting also represents everybody within the organization, within the season pass holders, within the people who are all the way sitting up in the nosebleed. Like, make sure that it resonates to everybody. The people in the concession stand, the people that are in ticket sales. Like, make sure everybody is represented. And that is, I know it's a hard conversation to have, because of course, only so many spots on the team. It's only so much time that you have on the field or on the court, but it's something that needs to happen. Yeah. Across platforms of pro dance, especially now, like I said, with teams going co-ed. Yeah. If you're going to go co-ed, if you're going to, you know, disband a team, make sure you acknowledge those prior. Make sure you thank them. Make sure you have the banquet. Make sure you invite the alumni, the alumna to come back and give a speech. Like,
Yeah.
Let people remind people of the legacy. Like that's what history does. Like history is just the retelling of a legacy of something that happened. And that's why I said like nobody has ever like made history playing something safe.
Yeah.
Nobody ever has done that. If you want to be iconic, if you want to be legendary, do something legendary that has that and that represents this and that is not afraid to do the Latin night and do the Pride night and do the West Indian night and do the Black History Month. Like it,
Yeah.
do that.
And
Like
I just
make
wanted
sure
to say, like, if you think about like what you just said in terms of the history, here is the essentially the start of something new. What would be the beginning of a new legacy of a new team? Why launch it in this way? Why let this be the beginning of whatever vision that you have for this new entertainment team? Like to start it off on this kind of a confusing, unclear, weird little note, especially the way that the transition happened. Like it's a missed opportunity to actually maybe have a beautiful story or a beautiful passing of the baton or evolution. And again, I just don't know who's in these rooms when they have these conversations, but I just had to say that because you're so right. History is retelling, but you just established day one of the history of this new Washington football entertainment team, and this is how you went about it. Like, what are we really?
like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
okay,
We're here.
maybe next year.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. It's just something like I think my goal, like I said, as a coach now, is just to make sure that aside from having a team that is ready to go pro and having a team that is aware of the industry and how it moves, I just want them to fully understand anything that the industry is always changing.
Yeah.
And that the look is always changing. The style is always changing. It's
Right.
your job
To keep up with it.
to keep up, and in the case, like hopefully, fingers crossed, if there's another audition, hopefully there is more of a direct line of communication where it's like we only want this, period. Like
Yeah.
we only looking for this, and if not, hey, move on. I do think like shoot, even if there was an announcement made at the beginning of the audition, like, hey, just so you all are aware, we discussed last night. We're going to do this instead. You're free to stay if you want, but if this isn't you, you might as well go. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been completely different. But like I said, I just hope more than anything, honestly and truly, that the team is successful. That the people, the young men and the women who did make the team, that they go out there, that slay, that they kill it, that they unapologetically demolish every team.
Yeah.
And like I said, I personally want to see more inclusive teams. I want to see more diverse teams. I want to see teams that are not afraid to have the boys doing the same tricks, the same the same lead, the same turn as their female counterparts. I would love to see the female counterparts jump as high, dance as hard. Like I want to see that because that is a part of the representation that matters. I would refer to just represent all of it, and when you represent those things, and when you give people the opportunity to showcase that, people respect it more.
Exactly.
People respect it more. They give more into the organization. They invest time, and next thing you know, like this team has gone viral because of this. For all of the right reasons, not just because it was we just added some guys.
We'll see what they do, and like you said, I mean, I'm cheering for everybody. I know I went through this with the NBA teams. I was not loving the way that a lot of the changes went down when they did decide to go co-ed. And then once they formed, I was really hoping to see what they did with it and just a successful season for the dancers. But, I hope this isn't another instance where it was just kind of like thrown together in a way that wasn't as thoughtful as it could have been. And then it kind of fizzles out because it doesn't really land and resonate with the fans and and the larger community. Like, I know a lot of people want the opportunity to dance professionally, and so they'll still show up at auditions no matter what. But I just think there's just a real risk of what we have all established as a pro cheerleading community of tradition and legacy in our space. And if more changes like this come as swiftly as they come, and with dropping some balls and missed opportunities, and just not really managed as well as they could be, then it can just disrupt what we've got going in a lot of ways it's not ideal. And again, I just thank you for spending time with me this evening and talking and just bringing to light a lot of things that I just think are super worthy of conversation. I really hope we can keep the conversation going, because a lot of people did write in about like wanting to discuss co-ed teams and kind of the pros and cons. And I think there's just a lot of people trying to process all of those thoughts and emotions around it, because it does get complex. And if they go about it in the wrong way, especially when they do go co-ed, it complicates it even more. So I thank you, Brandon, for spending time and being courageous and even just talking, because there's so many people who are scared to talk, and it just, I get it, but it's like, it's awesome to,
Okay.
yes.
Like, I'm not 5 inch heels with the eyelash on my face. I'm not scared.
Yes.
What you gonna do?
Right. But there's a lot of power in being able to speak your truth and to share your experience. And again, when I saw that post, I was just like, wow, I at least have to just reach out to ask if I can read it or whatever, and just your willingness to just, I don't know.
Reach out.
Well, I will let you enjoy your evening. I really appreciate you helping kick off season 8. I think this will be like an ongoing conversation, and I look forward to following the Lady Warriors and seeing what you guys are up to. Hopefully you'll have a season this year.
Oh my gosh. We have a lot to do now. We have a lot of
restructuring to do. Keep up the tradition of pro cheer as we know it too, because it is a beautiful form of dance and art form that we have to preserve. So hopefully you can weave in some of these elements maybe, but keep doing what we do.
That's right. That's how we can do.
Yeah.
Keeping
on. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. And we should connect so we can have like a more full-blown interview, but this was amazing.
We'll be back.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Have a good one. Bye. Of course, my dog is not behaving. You guys, I just want to thank you for hanging in there. This conversation I think it's just a really, really important one. And I really do look forward to expanding this conversation beyond today, and just getting a lot more perspectives of how we're feeling about co-ed and how we go about making these co-ed teams. But I do want to say that this is going to be an amazing season. I have a lot in store for you guys. I think it's all in the spirit of just making our community tighter, stronger, better. And I'm hoping that you'll just take this ride with me and be willing to talk and share information, whether that's anonymous or not. I think we can all benefit from learning from one another. I love you guys. Stay safe, and good luck with auditions. I'm still catching up with everything that's going on, but if you are in the middle of auditions, do your best to prepare, show up as your best self, and just go for it. And let me know how things go. I love hearing the stories of people making the teams and making their dreams come true. So I'm rooting for all of you, and I will look forward to chatting with you next week. So one of the reasons that I wanted to ask you guys for feedback on the audition prep programs and classes that are out there is because, it's really a lot to choose from, right? And there's just so many options. And I think what I noticed during the pandemic was just that people were still trying to stay prepared and trained for auditions, but they were doing so many different things as opposed to kind of like picking one program. They were taking as many classes as possible, which is great. But I think when it comes down to buckling down and picking a training program, maybe one particular teacher or program that you like and that you're really hoping you can get results from, especially when you're investing that kind of money, that it would be good to have like just some firsthand knowledge from people about what programs are out there that are working for them, and to kind of give people their flowers. And honestly, the feedback, like I said, was so overwhelmingly positive for 2 programs in particular that this episode is really just dedicated to them, giving them some amazing feedback of how their programs are impacting people and helping people reach their goals. And so, with that, I'm going to start sharing some feedback on some of the reviews that have came in. So, let's start off with Next Level Prep. So, like I said, Next Level Prep literally just started in February of 2020 last year and already has achieved, I think, a phenomenal amount of success and growth. But Jasmine Lee is the owner. She is the most amazing person. I have to just say a personal shout out for Jasmine because just in starting the podcast, she was just such a huge supporter early on, just so welcoming and inviting and communicating and supporting the podcast in every step of the way, especially when you first start out. You just feel lonely, but she was just such a great friend, and I visited her a couple of times, once in DC and down in Atlanta at the beginning of the year in January. And I'm just so proud of her and excited for her success. And so, just so you know, she has a background, in the NBA as a dancer for the Wizards as well as the Atlanta Hawks. So, without further ado, I'm going to share some of the feedback that she's received for the Next Level Prep program. Sounds like she's done a hybrid program of like 1 week in person, 1 week virtually. She definitely has like a virtual option for people who are not in the Atlanta area. But I'm going to start reading some reviews and just kind of throwing in my 2 cents here and there. But someone said this program gave me the intense training I was looking for. Jasmine, the owner, is amazing, so kind, and wants everyone to succeed. Definitely worth the cost. Jasmine really works with everyone to assess individual needs and gives you a plan to be successful. And I think that's really something that I've always been curious about with some of these audition prep companies is kind of like the initial assessment where they see where you're at and how they go about crafting a plan that's unique to you and what you really need to work on. And it sounds like that partnership with Jasmine and the way that she consults with her clients and really just helps tailor a plan so that they can achieve their goals, I think is really a great touch. Someone said Next Level Prep helped me brush up on my skills and learn more of the Atlanta power and pro dance style. I also gained great mentorship from the owner. She truly has great current experience to help all levels. And that's the one thing I also noticed. It's like, sometimes with the audition prep companies, people come in and they're pretty far along in their journey. Maybe they have technique already and they're just looking for dance classes or opportunities to kind of fine tune what they already have going for them. And then there are others who really just, maybe just started going after the dream of becoming a pro cheerleader and maybe aren't as far along as some of the other dancers. And so really finding a program that will allow you to come in as you are and just help you grow. It looks like, Next Level Prep really takes all levels and really develops a plan for people to start chipping away, because it can be overwhelming when you haven't really maybe been as prepared and didn't perhaps train your whole life in this, but it is something that you want to pursue to really be taken seriously when you approach, an audition prep company and getting a real plan that works for you. And these are, again, just there are so many programs out there, some that are larger than others, and obviously a lot of people have been successful at establishing audition prep companies, but I'm kind of excited that some of the newer ones are the ones that are getting a lot of the praise, because I think maybe just a tailored approach or something that they're doing that's making a special connection for people. So I'll stop with my 2 cents. I got to keep sharing from the horse's mouths of people who are in her program. So someone said, Jasmine is such a well-rounded leader who focuses on all aspects of prepping a dancer for their professional goals. From choreo, power, stamina, looks, interviews, online presence, in-person presence, and tricks, she is the go-to program to help dancers achieve their dreams. She truly cares about each dancer and wants them to succeed. Besides teaching, Jasmine is a great friend and really takes interest in those who take her class. It's more than just money for her, and her sincere heart really comes across in how she advocates for and cheers on her dancers. I loved this one because it's like it captures Jasmine like so perfectly. Like when I was in her class in January in Atlanta, I mean, she's just this small, mighty package, but just the way she cheers and screams for people when they're dancing and how she teaches, and she really pushes you, but she motivates you too. I just thought it was really, really spot on of what I think her classes really offer in her approach to teaching. Because, let's be real, everybody who has danced professionally, it's not an automatic that you make a great dance teacher. or definitely an audition prep company entrepreneur. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but I just think maybe some people are good at certain aspects, like just choreography. But to have a well rounded package and having so much to offer people in an audition prep program, I just think Jasmine fits the bill all the way around the board. So I really like that review. This next one says, Jasmine is such an amazing person and her personality gives me so much life. Her program is helping me build my confidence and being the best dancer I can be. I was really struggling with the technique part of the pro cheer dance world, and her program is helping me tremendously. She works with us one-on-one to specifically see what we need to do to help technique, and her feedback is amazing. I'm already progressing, and it's only been a couple of weeks. It's definitely worth the cost. There aren't any cons, but the pros are just that Jasmine is very flexible. She will work with you, your schedule, and anything else. From what I witnessed being at the studio, so much where she teaches pro dance class, she helps the people in her program to the fullest. She helps with resumes, interview process, she records for you, she helps with audition outfits and looks. She's just all in with helping out each person. So great feedback there, and just so many examples of and specifics of how she actually helps her dancers. Someone said, Jasmine is so kind and uplifting. It truly was the best audition prep program I've ever done. My technique and confidence has improved so much, and I've made amazing new friends within the program. It's very affordable and 100% worth the cost. I would definitely recommend it to anyone interested in prepping for a pro audition. And this last one is just saying that this person's actually started with Jasmine's Next Level Prep program since its debut. And she said, can I just say it's literally the best decision I've made yet in terms of preparing for pro cheer auditions. Jasmine is so wonderful at what she does, and I couldn't have asked for a better role model, coach, and friend. The price was just perfect for the amount of weeks. Plus, there were great perks and advantages that came along with it. I have made tremendous progress since I first started this program last year, and I feel more prepared this time around for auditions. So if you're trying to prepare for upcoming auditions, Next Level Prep is the way to go. So I think, again, well-deserved and earned feedback. Jasmine, I'm so proud of you. If you're listening, I think you're doing an amazing job. You're just expanding opportunities for other choreographers and dance teachers. I love how you're just bringing so many people together and catering to just audiences that maybe not so much haven't been overlooked, but I just loved the fact that you did that program that was kind of geared towards male teachers and male dancers. I just thought it was so brilliant. And again, just keep up the great work and touching all those people and helping them reach their goals. I'm so excited for you, and keep doing what you're doing. I know it's inspiring to get feedback, and so I hope you feel inspired to continue on. We love you, Jasmine. Keep up the good work. Okay, so the next program that I'm just going to mention is the Train with Tiff. I know she didn't really think of it as a training, like an audition prep program, but it's real true training. And you'll hear from these comments too that she really does train her dances in her style of choreography and way she teaches. And people were just, like I said, ranting and raving about her program as well. So Tiff is a college dance coach. Again, she cheered in the NBA and NFL and has been, teaching and choreographing for the past 10 years all over the country. And so, I mean, you'll hear these themes of just the way that she motivates her students and providing individualized feedback and just making her classes accessible and affordable to everybody. I think she just has the biggest heart and goes above and beyond for her athletes that she coaches, and just extending that love to people who are trying to prepare for this world, whether it's collegiate auditions or professional team auditions. I just think she goes above and beyond, and we're going to get into some of the reviews for Train with Tiff. So somebody has been taking virtual classes 3 times a week and said it's improved her performance and confidence 100%. She said from her small town, it was just been a blessing to be able to have this quality of choreography and coaching during the pandemic. She provides different styles, live, virtual, or pre-recorded classes, personal feedback in every class, and coaches you to self-tape so that you can practice taping and seeing yourself. I feel 100% more ready for NFL auditions because of this service and have been recommending it to anyone who wants dance training. So again, during the pandemic, just making her classes accessible to people. And even Seattle, we don't really have like that much of a pro dance community space where people are teaching in person, but I think people across the country are clearly taking advantage of being able to train with Tiff. Someone said after my first year being on an NFL team, this was the first time I decided to take any kind of prep class, and I admit if I felt pretty good. And then I took Train with Tiff, and she really opened my eyes to how much more I need to learn. I can't thank her enough for her training classes. The first year I went to her, it was $20 a class, and I would have even paid more for how worth it was. When COVID hit, she moved to Zoom and lowered her prices, and it was still amazing. I still feel the intensity of a normal in-person audition prep class. She has so much pro dance knowledge, and I see myself growing every class with her. I think it's really, you'll hear in different reviews, just the transition that Tiff made to being more accessible and keeping people dancing during the pandemic. And I know a lot of choreographers and teachers were trying to do that. But again, just her willingness to kind of have reasonable prices for her classes and making it accessible to people, I think it really says a lot. That it's really not about the money. It's really caring about helping people. So somebody said, Tiff's classes are super cost effective, especially as a college student. Dance programs can be quite expensive. Somebody said, personally, I think she should raise her prices because you take away so much with just being there for an hour and a half. I would definitely recommend it. I've never had a coach care for me the way she does. Her tenacity and grit are completely admirable, and it shows in the way she coaches her classes. Another person said, incredible value for the price with the quality of choreography and perfect combos ready to use as a base for freestyles during auditions. The dance tempo is always fast and on beat, so easy to reuse to different songs and cheer remixes too. Cannot recommend enough. And she offers, pro as well as collegiate specific classes. The only con perhaps is technique is expected, so maybe not for true beginners until they have a baseline of doubles and kicks. But 10 classes for $100 is an amazing deal for high quality combos and teaching. And she also gave free classes to healthcare workers during COVID. So again, just the value of what you get for your money says a lot, and just the fact that she's just trying to help people reach their goals and just connecting people. I think and this is just me because I'm a big fan of Tiff as well. I know that she puts so much of her heart and soul into coaching, and the ways that she tried to keep her dancers connected with each other and just able to tap back into that passion of loving to dance. It's really, really hard doing that through a screen and getting people motivated. But there just have been people who've written in of ways that she tried to unite, even just dancers from different college dance teams that hadn't been able to perform all year, and just bringing them together so that they had that in common. I think that's just a really beautiful testament to the type of person that she is, the type of coach that she is, and you'll hear that in more of these reviews. Someone said, I use Train with Tiff to prep for college dance team auditions. They really help with the pro team style and teach jazz funk, jazz, and hip hop with a few different teachers. It's great because it caters to all levels and is definitely worth the cost. Somebody else is also taking her classes to prepare for college dance team auditions. They said she's a phenomenal coach helping with everything college dance team. She gives specific feedback and offers classes that prepare me for college and professional dance teams. I have already seen incredible improvements in my dancing over the short time we've been training together. So someone said that Tiff gives corrective feedback and takes the time to watch us during classes. Someone said Train with Tiff is amazing. It has helped me practice picking up choreography and practice showmanship on Zoom, which is obviously super important with online and virtual auditions. Tiffany always gives great feedback that is encouraging but also constructive. I love that Tiffany's pricing makes training more accessible than other programs, and I highly recommend it to anyone, especially if you're just looking to just dance again. She has a special way of engaging and making sure everyone is recognized over Zoom. And I saw this firsthand. You have so many people in a Zoom class, but you can even see the focus in her face when she's watching everybody perform the dance. I mean, she calls people out. She's looking at everybody, and I feel that was just the magic of being just an observer in her class, is how she made everybody feel seen and not just kind of random statements. It's just like encouraging feedback and constructive feedback for people, and just making you feel like you're not dancing just for your computer or your phone. You're being seen and you're feeling motivated from it. Somebody said, let's see, I've been taking classes with Train with Tiff to prepare for auditions. She has helped me master the pro style of dance. She gives individual feedback in all classes and has been very supportive throughout the process. You can do a bundle or buy individual classes. And I believe her prices are super affordable. Somebody said, Train with Tiff is such a fun class, and she teaches at a quicker pace than a lot of classes I've taken, which helps me work my brain to pick up choreo faster, which is a huge advantage for auditions. Definitely worth the cost, and recommending it to all your friends. So that's one thing I will say. I think it's just a great challenge. The way that she teaches the class is definitely a faster pace, but it's just what you can expect from the auditions process. Sometimes you're timed and how long you have to submit your virtual submission. And so if you're able to keep picking up, really challenging choreography and doing it quickly, I think it's just doing you a great service to prepare for auditions. And plus her choreography is so cute. Like, it's just so cute and just what I think of in terms of like traditional NFL and NBA style. And her guest teachers are amazing too. The great choreo and great routines. Let's see. So Tiff is so amazing and helpful with great feedback and choreography that helps us prepare for auditions. She makes me actually look forward to Mondays. Pros are super fun classes with amazing positive energy, an experienced teacher with lots of helpful tips and comments, and a community of amazing dancers. No cons at all. Just a couple more here. Somebody said, Train with Tiff. She gives the best feedback and tells you exactly what you need to hear to be better. 100% worth the cost. I'm so grateful I found her classes, and more importantly, I'm so happy I can take them virtually since they don't live in California. Her style of choreography is truly undefeated, and that's why she's so well known in the pro dance world. Classes really help prepare you for auditions because of how fast-paced and intricate each week's routine is. So highly recommend. Someone said her classes have helped me improve the pro style tremendously. She not only teaches fun, energetic, and challenging combinations, but she also gives positive feedback throughout the class to help the dancers improve. Overall, it's just a positive and helpful experience. Another one is Tiff is incredible. She has helped me boost my confidence and improve my technique. She always teaches the best combos that are fun and challenging, and I feel prepared to enter audition season because of her. And the last one is just, I think Tiff is phenomenal. The classes are very fun and challenging. She takes the time to give verbal feedback to all of the dancers every time. I think that sets her apart from others, and the classes are very affordable. She will even help edit your audition videos. It's just not all about the money for her. Her privates and prep classes are just super affordable. And you guys, this has been a rough year, right? And financially investing in yourselves to take these classes, it's not easy. It adds up. And I just think it sounds like from both reviews for both programs, there's just a true appreciation of it being accessible and affordable for people, where they're able to, make that investment and not completely stress themselves out in spending so much money for an audition prep company that might just be out of their budget. So Tiff, again, I adore you. I just love our chats on social media, just talking about anything and everything. But I really, really admire what you've done for your dancers, the way that you've stepped up for them this year in particular, and just holding everybody together and bringing them back to loving what they do and loving doing it through a computer. I think that's just something that I personally lost enchantment with. I'm not obviously in the game anymore, but it is a beautiful thing to continue to inspire people and motivate people, performing for a small video camera. And what you're doing is definitely not going unnoticed, and people truly appreciate and respect your work. So I just wanted to share that. I know it was somewhat reading from all of these reviews, but each individually, with people writing in, they wanted to express their gratitude and how amazing the program is. And so I wanted to share every single word. I am looking forward to hearing more from you guys all season on different topics, and I really appreciate everybody joining today to listen in to this feedback episode. The door is always open on social media, and I look forward to next week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. You can follow your favorite podcast on social media at Pro Cheerleading Podcast on Instagram, at Pro Cheer Podcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can support your favorite podcast on Patreon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sidelines.